Hello my friends, this is Pigeon Shaman here, and today a different video. You know, it's kind of cool to have a bird perch in your hand, but there's a whole other side to this pigeon practice, and that's when they die. And if I don't take custody of a pigeon, they're just gonna end up in the garbage. So we're gonna have to bury them. And as you see, I just marked out the bird of prey there, guiding above the tower. Next to a pigeon we're gonna bury today, we're also gonna bury a jackdaw, which I actually found below the tower, and which was probably prey of that falcon. So rather an interesting coincidence there. So I'm cycling and I'm on my way to my secret pigeon graveyard. If I had a bigger garden, I would have probably done this, buried the pigeons in my own garden, but I actually don't have the space, so I had to find like a space outside. So it's a bit clandestine way to do this, but it's the only way to do it. And as you can see, I'm taking a little pit stop here with the pigeons because I'm gonna bury one of them, so it's nice to first visit them. And it's one of their own, so, and they can't visit, birds don't have hands, they can't bury their own, so if we don't want to throw them in the garbage, then a human's gonna have to do it for them. And this topic is, so we're gonna talk about death here. And in our Western society, it's very much a taboo subject. And you can even see that physically in our world, because graveyards, hospitals, crematoria places, they're all out of sight. They're all outside of the city. So we do our best to not confront death and avoid it very much, and I don't think it's a very healthy idea to do it. And that's part of the reason why I want to post this video, just so we can familiarize ourselves more with it, and that it's actually a common thing in life. We're all gonna die, all animals die, and it's gonna happen one day. So if we can get more comfortable with it, get some more practice with it, I think it's a good thing. So as you can see, we've arrived at the little graveyard, and I'm taking out the jackdaw and the pigeon, and I've stored them for a couple of weeks already in my freezer, so they're like popsicles by now. And maybe you've also noticed that I've taken off the wings. So I do this because actually it's the only way to preserve some of the bird. And to me, at death, the spirit of the animal is already gone, and basically what's left is just a shell to me. So I had some difficulties with doing it the first time, but you get used to it. And actually I have quite an excess of these wings, and so some of them I sell off. But they all find their ways to therapeutic settings. So actually one of the latest wings I sold was actually sold to a woman who's doing ceremonies with pregnant women. So these pigeon wings end up in for a place like that. So I find it's truly amazing that like the death of a pigeon, the wing eventually facilitates the birth of a human. So I find that's extraordinary. So yeah, coming back to like the grave part of things. So you just saw I threw in some peanuts. So I don't know. I really like to do this. Like I think the ancient Greeks put coins on the eyes of the deceased, so they could pay their way into the underworld and pay the ferryman to cross the Styx. So I don't know. This is, to me, it's kind of similar, just to give them some food on their trip. Who knows? Maybe they need to pay some kind of pigeon in the purgatory. Who knows? So I just like to throw that in, and here you can see I'm using a pigeon wing here to like smudge the pigeon. I can't really tell you why I'm doing this. So I've read that this, you can use smudging in many ways, and one of the reasons to do it is to like really make sure the spirit of the bird has left. Like I'm not too sure of it, but like I like to do it anyways. It's good to like offer something, do some sacrifice, and the peanuts are part of it, but so is the burning of the incense and the lighting of the candle. It's like it's showing I'm willing to expend resources on the behalf of the birds, and it makes it meaningful. Like if you connect it to a cost, there's value in it. If you're not willing to expend resources on the practice you're doing, you should really think about whether it's meaningful or not. It shouldn't be a problem to like light a candle, or actually sometimes I even throw in some money into the grave. I think it's a good gesture. So we're covering up the graves now. And some more peanuts also for the jackdaw. So I'm gonna smudge this one, and then I'm gonna cover it as well. And then we're gonna get to a bit more interesting part, because they are sort of gonna get a tombstone, but it's gonna be like a stick. And I'm gonna mark these sticks, as you'll shortly see. And I started doing this intuitively because it felt really good to do it. And I'll mark them with random signs. Like I do this in general. I sort of have like imaginary language. And when you write in like a new language, or let's say your own language, you basically create a container to make it mean a lot of unknown things. So when you do something new, for example, this pigeon burial practice, by writing in a different language or an imaginary language, you sort of like create a container to like capture a lot of unknown things, which means like I'm not even sure what I'm doing, but this text is gonna explain it, and it helps me to further think about what is it exactly, because in some cases I don't know, it's not definitive. And one of the reasons I figured out why I'm doing it is because de facto I am the authority here on these deaths of the birds, right? Like I'm the only one doing this in this town, and like marriages, you need witnesses. And by marking these graves now, I sort of like sign it off, as in saying like, okay, I witnessed this, I was here, these were beautiful birds, they now have died, and you know, I've responded to it. I've taken them from the streets and we've buried them. So yeah, that was a pigeon burial for you. I hope you enjoyed this, and I thank you a lot if you watched it till the end. It's great to share this.